So, company after company, in industry after industry, is coming under attack from disruptive innovators. So the question everybody is asking is, how can I respond successfully to disruption and to these disruptive innovators? Now, you don't have to take my word for it. There is a lot of academic research that has looked at lots of companies, how they responded, which of them were successful, which of them were not successful. And we know some things that determine success. And I'd like to just communicate 4 key messages to you as to what determines success in responding to disruption. Number 1, you have to be clear what is the disruption about. There are some disruptions that are more disruptive than others. Some disruptions are radical business model innovations that undermine the basis of your competitive advantage. Some other disruptions are new technologies that come into the industry and help you improve the way you serve people. Some other disruptions are new products or services that target new customers and so on. The point there is that disruption is not one thing. It's a variety of things. There's a range of disruptions, and the first thing you have to be clear in your head is what disruption am I facing, because that will determine the kind of response you're going to have towards them. Point number 2 is, whatever disruption you're facing, radical or incremental, technological or business model, we know from research that the most important ingredient of success is attitude towards this disruption. There's a lot of evidence which shows, for example, that companies that look at the disruption as a threat end up messing it up. So how should you look at the disruption? Many people think that the solution is to look at it as an opportunity. But the evidence is that companies that look at disruptions as opportunities also mess it up. So what is the solution? If you look at it as a threat, you mess up. If you look at it as an opportunity, you mess up. How should you look at it? And the answer is simple enough. You have to look at it as both a threat and an opportunity. It sounds simple, but it's difficult. Now, why should you look at it as both? The answer, again, is very simple. If we look at something as a threat, it creates a sense of urgency for us, and we act upon it. But the action we take tends to be reactive, short-term, myopic. If, on the other hand, you look at it as an opportunity, we tend to think about it long-term, strategically, we develop a long-term plan, but there is no urgency. So the solution is you have to find a way of combining the two. You have to frame it to your people and to yourself as a threat to generate the sense of urgency, but at the same time, you have to look at it as an opportunity to develop a long-term orientation and a long-term strategy towards it. It's easier said than done. How could one human being look at something as both a threat and as an opportunity? I'll give you tangible tactics and strategies of how you can do it in your organization. But attitude towards the disruption is the second ingredient to success. How do you adopt the disruption in your organization? First of all, you may think that you don't need to adopt it. That's fine. I'll talk a little bit about that later. But if you decide to adopt it, the biggest mistake that companies make is to imitate the disruption and take it into their organization. It never works. What you need to do is to think how you can creatively take this disruption and incorporate it into your business model in your own unique way. Imitating what the disruptor has done would only get you into trouble, because you cannot be as good as the disruptor. They developed the game, they invented the technology. You cannot really be as good as them. What you need to do is to think, given my business model, given my technology, given the way I play the game, how can I take this disruption and incorporate it into my business model in ways that gives me a competitive advantage over the disruptor? Point number 4 is that sometimes some of these disruptions, you cannot really develop them within the existing organization. Some of them are so radical or so disruptive that you may have to think about creating separate units that allows you to build up the disruption there, hire the right people different from the core business, different from the mentalities and the mental models of the core business, allow them to grow it like an entrepreneur. And after they grow it, then you can decide, do I keep it as separate from the core business, or do I reintegrate it into the organization? These are the 4 ingredients to success that we know about, and underpinning all of them is innovation. You have to be innovative in how you approach the disruption, innovative in this kind of strategy you develop to adopt the disruption, and so on and so forth. So, and a key ingredient to all of this is an organization that has a culture of innovation. And I'll explain how you can develop that culture of innovation in your companies.